Hi, everyone. I'm Dan Morrison.
I'm Ellie Morrison.
And this is Happy Not Satisfied, the podcast where we talk to people about finding joy in the process of growth. Today, we have an amazing guest with us, Daniel Trevino. He is the owner and co-founder of Box Street. He's a visionary for the city, an incredible entrepreneur, a businessman, a great guy, someone I've gotten the pleasure to get to know recently. And we're going to hear some of his story and some of his take on being happy, not satisfied today. So Daniel, welcome to the podcast.
Well, thank you so much for having me.
I would love to talk about your mindset a little bit because, obviously I talk about being happy, not satisfied and finding joy in the growth and all those things. And it sounds like there's elements of that there for you. But before you even heard that phrase or whatever, like how would you have described your mindset and how you pushed through and what your ambition meant to all this and your dreams and goals and all that?
Yeah, that's a great question. I really think it came down to responsibility. I felt as the co-founder of this and as the owner, I felt responsible for, hey, I have these people I need to take care of, right? And how are we going to do this through business? And just working through all the obstacles, it wasn't that hard. It was very difficult.
Yeah.
But it was in me.
Right.
It was like I wanted to do it. So therefore, it wasn't that hard, right?
I have a question related to that because I think there's a lot of people who want to do maybe something like what you've done, maybe not exactly with restaurants, but something like that, where there's like a clear vision, like where you're trying to go. But I also think there's people who want to do that, but they don't know what the thing is. Like you knew, I want to open this restaurant, I want to grow it. Do you have like advice for people that have that drive, but don't know what the end goal would be? Or like, I know that's a tough question, but I think so many people listen to podcasts and watch stuff and read books. And it's like, well, all you have to do is just follow your vision. And it's like, what if I don't have a vision, but I want to follow a vision?
Yeah. So many people have a lot of great things to say, but they're so vague on the directions.
Yeah. Because when you said it's easy, I think that's what you meant. It's because like you had that image in your head of what you were going to.
Right.
So like that was always there. And even though things were challenging, that part was easy because you knew.
Right. No, and that's true. I also have a great team.
Yeah.
And we collectively knew what we wanted to do, and the end goal in mind. Yeah. Now, was it going to be successful? That we don't know.
Right.
We don't know that.
But that's the happy, not satisfied part of it, right? Because finding joy in the process, you have to just trust the process.
Yeah.
Is that something you thought about consciously? Is it just come naturally? Like, yeah.
No,
what does
absolutely.
That look like?
It's a conscious thought and it's a terrifying thought.
It is.
Right?
Absolutely. I struggle with it. You can ask Ellie. I struggle with it.
You're doing something, even down to our design, right?
Yeah.
I loved it. Caroline obviously loved it. Eddie loved it. But what if no one else loved it?
It's right? super vulnerable to put that out there.
And down to the music, we created this playlist and we loved it and we didn't censor it. And we said, this is what we want to hear and this is what we want to do. But what if no one else loves it or if they talk mess about it,
Yeah.
And then food, right? So the crazy part about a restaurant is we are the most scrutinized business, I think, in the world, where other businesses don't get it like we do.
Yeah.
Crazy part is we serve, 3,000 people last week at La Cantera, right? And if we mess up one plate,
right,
that could be 5 1-stars, right? Because 5 top table or 4 top table, and then this person's unhappy and they talk to that whole table. Well, then they go home and do a 1-star review. It's really almost unfair, but also like crazy to think like we're doing this business only to get scrutinized every single day, or the possibility of it, right?
Well, and it's what's so true with everything, I think, is like there's this vocal minority that makes you feel like you're doing everything wrong, and the people that are actually loving it just assume that they love it. It's so you don't hear from the people that love it, you only hear from the people that don't love it, and so that screws up your perception of reality. I think
we have to constantly remind ourselves that we're the only ones that really read these reviews.
Yeah.
And the reason we do is because we want to get better.
Sure, of course.
So if there is a bad one that says, hey, this server at this time, blah, 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 this food at this time, and this is what happened. Hey, we can have a meeting about it. We can make it a learning, a time for learning for the employees and for the staff. But what about the one that just leaves a 1-star and they don't say anything? It's not very productive.
Yeah.
So it's kind of funny, but it sticks to us. It's the ones that stick out to us instead of, I just said we did 3,000 people last week at La Cantera. What about the 2,999 others? Smiling faces, loving the music, loving the food. Obviously, they don't go home and write 5 stars. Not all of them. Thank you for the ones that do, by the way. But those are the ones that stick to us, and that's kind of unfortunate, but the reality of the restaurant business. What was the question? That's how my life is with the restaurant.
I don't remember. I was gonna say what I was gonna say. It reminded me of, though, I've been listening to, for whatever reason, Rick Rubin, who's like this huge music producer. I don't know if you listen to his stuff, but he's like long hair, doesn't ever wear shoes, but like somehow just taps into people's souls and helps create this amazing music. But his big thing is, and it sounds weird, but it's like, you shouldn't be creating for an audience. You should only be creating for yourself. And that sounds selfish, but as someone who is involved in the creative process very heavily in my own life, and I know how scary that is to put things out there and be excited about something and then show it to someone else and know they might be like, I don't really like that. And you spent, 100 hours building out this idea, right? But I think that's hard to believe in, but I think what you're saying is like, you kind of have to survive. It's like, you guys all loved it and you believed in it and you put it out there and, you hope the audience likes it, but you can't, if you're trying to guess what every single person wants, then it's like you're giving no one nothing.
That's right.
As opposed to like finding people that love it.
And it's crazy with our art is we do that. We're curating something that we love and we're going to put it out there, hoping that the audience loves it.
Yeah.
But we're doing it for the audience, but we're not solely doing it for. We're doing it because we love this.
You have to say something that speaks to yourself. That's how you can be different and authentic.
Yeah.
I think there are restaurants I can think of in San Antonio that have recently opened, and I'm looking at it and I'm like, this looks like you were just trying to please every single different person that might come in here, and because of that, I have no interest in going in there.
Yeah. We call it no personality.
Yeah. It's like they're trying to have so many personalities and there's none. Yeah.
That's absolutely right.
I identify with that concept as a content creator because it's something I've struggled with on and off. Anytime that I'm feeling insecure and that I'm not like super connected and plugged into my own voice and owning my authenticity, it's easy to like have all the noise in your mind and think, I should just say nothing at all. You know, or I'm going to say all the things to just placate everybody. Well, then ultimately you're not standing out because you're trying to just be so benign and neutral. And I've gone through like peaks and valleys with that. And I find like right now, I feel like I'm finally coming out of a weird funk of whatever that was and stepping into like, okay, I need to say something. I just need to say something. I need to say what's on my heart and what's in my soul. And when you're making art, whether that's culinary art or, the art of gathering or dressing or anything, anything, it's real. It's a vulnerable thing. But as people who are like creating kind of the cultural now and future of a vibrant city that has always been authentic. And that's one of the things that I tout about San Antonio, no matter where I travel in the world, is like this city has grown slower than others in Texas, but it is true to itself. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And it's because of people like you who are putting their stamp on it, and your team, and you're putting your art out there in the way that you feel is on your heart. And that's important.
That's right. Thank you. And and I encourage everyone to put out their art, their own art, without thinking about what people are going to say. And I think in this world is kind of the hardest because of social media. You can have 10,000 people attacking you that you don't even know, or they don't even know you, and that still hurts, right? That's
even
still,
one person, right?
Even
like
one
one
person,
Yelp review, like that. Human nature is like that doesn't feel good.
Yeah.
You don't want to hear bad things about yourself, about what you care about. You know, it's hard.
Yeah, it's really hard.
And so we definitely need to continue to push art in any form that's authentic. It's very important. And you see it all over, everyone's censoring themselves because they don't want to put out or say or push what they want to say.
Yeah.
I mean, in my own stuff, like I realized I was even doing that because you see stuff that's like, well, hustle culture is bad. And I'm not saying I'm hustle culture, whatever that even means, right?
Yeah.
But like I put stuff out there, it's like the 4 a.m. club or whatever. And I wake up super early and I work out and like I'm proud of that and I feel good about it. But then I was like backing away from it thinking, well, people think that I'm telling them they should do this and then they're not going to like that. And I'm just like, you know what? This is what I do and what I like. And if you like it too, you might relate to that.
We can overthink ourselves.
Yeah.
And I love that, by the way. So put that back up, please. Because you never know when you're gonna strike and someone that says, you know what, I do need to get up and go do that, even if it's not at 4 a.m. because it won't be at 4 a.m.
Yeah. Your business operates.
Yes.
Going back to the Yelp thing though, which is really interesting. Randomly, people will reach out to me and be like, I've been waking up at 4 a.m. for the last 6 months because of you and going to the gym. I had no idea. I had no clue.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, wow. Like I made a difference in one person's life. That's
super
cool.
All we got to do. Yeah. Right? That's all we got to do. And we just got to keep true to ourselves.
Yeah.
I think that's the main thing. Just keep true to ourselves.
Which is so hard to do.
Very hard.
Way harder than you would ever think.
Well, I think
especially
about that a
with
lot.
what you're saying, social media age and age of comparison and all this stuff. It's
also saturated and you don't know, what you're getting constantly. There's no break in that feed, right? That input. And I think about all the time, like how icons, kind of vintage icons became vintage icons.
Yeah.
Like, let's say Iris Apfel, like the iconic fashionista, and she just passed away this week at the age of 102.
Caroline loves her.
Yes, she and I bonded over the piece that I wrote about Iris, the tribute to her, because Iris inspired me. And so, anyway, Caroline and I had this great exchange about it. But like, how did those people just persevere and become their own rare bird? Well, I mean, I think it's more difficult now because it's two-sided. First of all, you have access to more inspiration and the access to like resources where you can hone your visual eye and your taste and your style, which is a knowledge that didn't used to exist. Simultaneously, however, you then get clouded and you have to get really good at listening to your own like compass in your voice of like, am I really drawn to that? Or is everybody drawn to that? And actually, I'm really drawn to this, And when you're putting things out there, I think that's the biggest challenge. One of the biggest challenges is staying tapped into that. Yeah.
I think also a circle, having a good circle. Right?
Yeah.
That circle that's
really
hard. And that's really hard nowadays too, because everyone's busy.
Yeah.
Right. So even moms and grandmas, and they're all busy too, right?
Yeah.
So
they're busy on social media. I'm just kidding.
They're busy liking our stuff.
Yeah.
But I think having a good circle is just so important to block everything out and continue to say, hey, this is what we're doing. This is what we're doing.
Well, and I've been talking to Ellie about this and she thinks I'm crazy, but with how difficult it is to like have a voice that matters or break through, then you also see people. I have found this guy.
Oh my God.
I found this guy. He reached out to me because he wanted to be on this podcast. And I looked and he has 500,000 followers. And I'm like, wow, this is so cool. And then I see like some people that I admire that he had on. And I'm like, okay, I'm going to do this. But then I started noticing weird stuff. Like every single one of his posts had the almost exact same number of likes. Everything had the same number of views. It would go 20 minutes, have 0 likes. And then at minute 21, have 5,250 likes.
It's like Dan's favorite thing to track.
Well, okay, I'm just saying. It did become a slight obsession because I'm like, what is going on here? He has
the bot world.
He has a book.
Yeah.
He has like millions of podcast downloads. And I start to look at the comments, and every comment is almost the same with like a one word changed, but like weird words used in a way that don't quite make sense in the English language. You know what I'm saying?
Talk like that.
So I'm saying this because we're out here trying to like authentically create, and so many people are. And then there's someone that is clearly just shelling out cash to buy followers, buy downloads, buy people. I'm convinced that he must be paying huge sums of money to people to come on his podcast, or they're not crazy like me and go on a rabbit hole search
To research.
to research. Like, oh, this guy has 500,000 followers. Like, I'm going to come on his podcast. But like, this exists, and maybe not on this scale as often, but there's tons of people doing stuff like this out there. Yeah. And then you see what he's doing and you think, oh, this is what I should be doing. I think ChatGPT wrote his book. Like, it's just totally, it's totally like nothing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's, anyway, I just had to get that off my chest.
No, I'm glad you did.
Really mad about this. Fired up.
I am fired up because it is like
it's only going to get worse.
Spitting in the face of people
AI is
that
really
care.
Only going to make this stuff worse.
100%. But AI and like literally just buying your followers, it is what it is. But I guess I'm saying that just so people know what you see is not always reality. Right. And like your authentic voice does matter. Yeah. And you should put out whatever you want to put out and what you feel good about. And if that's nothing, that's great. But like be authentic in your conversations, in what you create and talk about. I just think it's such an important message it'll
stand out more than anything else.
Yeah.
More than a million.
Be authentic. Just like you. Keep at it, be authentic, and you never know where life is going to take you. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Honor. Absolutely. So I think that you have a really interesting story. We were just talking about it a little bit of the evolution of what you now have, which for the people that don't know is 2 incredible restaurants, maybe more on the horizon, a massive following, an incredible brand that people recognize. It's sort of become a San Antonio staple so quickly, knowing that you only opened it several years ago. It feels like it's been here forever, knowing the impact that it's making already. So I would love to hear how we got here and some of the journey along the way, if you wouldn't mind.
Awesome. I'll start with the date that we opened Hemisphere, Box Street All Day Hemisphere. And that was December 15th of 2021.
Oh my God.
So I'll start with that date. It hasn't even been long. It honestly doesn't even feel like it's been that long. But let's go back to the history. I graduated Texas State in 2006. Sorry, 2006. And straight from there, my brother invited me to open a restaurant with him, a Mexican restaurant in Harlingen, Texas. I didn't know what that was. We're talking 2006, people, so we didn't have all this Instagram or maps or all that stuff back then, or it was still being developed, right? So I told him no at first, but I really didn't have something that I was going to do right out of college. So after thinking about it, I said, okay, yeah, I'll help you open the restaurant. I was working as a bartender, so he wanted me to do front of house, bartending, stuff like that. So I went to help him, and I literally packed up a U-Haul, moved to Harlingen, Texas, and we opened the restaurant. And it was an instant success. It was from some recipes my father had, some recipes he had. He grew up with the Papa's Company, and Papa's Company, Papados, Papacitos, Papa's Steakhouse. He grew up in Houston, my brother. And so using his experience, father's recipes, some of mother's recipes, and then opening in Harlingen, Texas, it wasn't a saturated environment, or didn't have a lot of restaurants. A lot of Mexican, but not a lot of restaurants. And then the Mexican type we opened was a little different. So it's an instant success. But I wasn't owner or partner. I just helped him open it. So I moved back to San Antonio, got my real estate license. The reason I did that, there was a reason for it. The lease that he signed, there were some things that we could have done better. So I wanted to study that and maybe help him in the future if he opened more. Well, this was now 2007, 2008, and the housing market was amazing. So all you had to do was be able to talk and have a license to do well in real estate in that year. And I was able to do both and made some money. My father coincidentally said he wanted to retire. He was my brother's partner. And he approached me to buy him out. So I did. I decided to buy him out. 2008, 2009 was when the crash was starting to happen. So I saw that as well, foresaw that. And I said, well, let me just get into this business. It's doing well, restaurant. I bought in and I said, actually, my brother said, you're starting in the kitchen. So when I bought in, he put me on the line. He put me as a dishwasher. He made me kind of learn all these ins and outs of the heart of the restaurant, which was one of the best things that could have happened. I went through it. Kitchen is a different world, you know. So I went through a lot of learning, beautiful, beautiful things, great things, also terrible things. But all of those things allow you to get to where you are, right? And so moving forward, I then took over operations of that restaurant till about 2012, 2013. Hired a manager that I trained to be a general manager, and Harlingen just wasn't the city for me to live in. Right?
Yeah.
So it was my exit plan to move back to San Antonio, and that's what I did. Moved back to San Antonio, lived downtown, joined the gym. You know, it was this King Williams is beautiful area. So I was living in St. Benedict's Lofts. That's what it was called at the time.
Great building.
Yeah, awesome building.
Yeah.
Amazing location. Met so many good people. Joined the gym that was downstairs at the bottom of the building. It was a CrossFit gym. And that's where I met Chef Edward. Some people know him as Chef Eddie or just Eddie. So that's where we met, and we developed a relationship. And he had worked at the Waldorf in Park City, Utah, as a chef. And so we kind of hit it off. I told him I'm a restaurateur, and he's like, "Oh, restaurateur." And I don't know why I used that word, but I used that word as if I was like a restaurant group or I mean, I thought I had enough experience to use it, but no. It's just it was a funny word to use, especially with him at the time. And so we hit it off. We developed a great relationship, both working out, hanging out. He would have these Sunday socials at his house, invited me. I would go. 100 people would go, not only me, but on and off. It was just a great experience to watch him do these Sunday socials and parties. He would cook for everyone. He would curate the music, even down to lighting. It was really cool. And he still does that to this day. We incorporate those aspects into the business, right? He curates the menus. He does a lot of the playlists, not all of them, but a lot of them, most of them, I should say. And you know, he's big on that ambiance, and mood setting.
It's important.
It's very important.
Yeah.
And it's an art form, really.
Yeah.
So that's like his art. It's beautiful. And so anyway, moving forward, we'd get together Sunday socials, and finally one day we were just like, we should do something. We should start our own thing. The first thing you want to do is open a restaurant, right? That's the first thing I wanted to do. Couldn't find a space. Hindsight, we should have been able to. Back then, we just couldn't. We didn't have we didn't know enough people. We didn't have the resources. But we decided, okay, so at the time, the food truck scene was kind of coming up, especially in Austin, a little bit in San Antonio. Yeah. There were some food truck parks. So we said, why don't we do a food truck? And we did. I ordered one from the Valley, actually. Custom ordered, kitchen, everything. And then that's how the name came about, Box Street Social, right? So kind of telling you guys that him and I met at the CrossFit gym, and back then they were called boxes. So incorporated that into the name. You know, we were going to park on the street because food truck, and then his Sunday socials that were so popular and so cool, incorporated that into the name too. So that became Box Street Social, the food truck. Really cool experience. It was a grind, you know. It was a real experience and a real grind. Down to parking, where we were going to park, how much we were going to make, how much are we going to, or how many people are we going to hire, how much food are we going to buy. It's food trucks. People come to me and they say, I want to open a food truck. And I'm like, think about it, you know, or let's
talk.
Saying that to Ellen like yesterday. I was like,
passed
that
one.
seems like one of the hardest things you could possibly do is sustain a food truck.
It absolutely is. It absolutely is. because all of the things that you don't think about happen, right? How many people are you going to serve in one day? Is it 50 or is it 300?
Yeah.
It's a big difference.
If you miss on that, it's not good.
And if you miss on that, either way,
right. Yeah.
it's not good.
Yeah.
Because 50 isn't enough to feed you, and 300, if you're not
ready for it
and doing it correctly, you won't survive.
Yeah.
Again, the genius of Eddie, he could serve, like I told you guys, 100 people, 150 people by himself. So with 2 other workers, he was able to do a lot. His experience, his expertise, and then the flavor of his foods took us through a lot of this. Fast forward, parked at a couple of spots, but ended up developing a relationship with Alamo Beer Company, right underneath the Hay Street Bridge. Really, really cool spot. If you guys haven't been, please go check it out. But they opened at around the same time that we started getting going with the food truck. We developed a relationship with them, and they invited us to come park, which made it a really good team because they served great beer and we served great food. And so parking there kind of propelled our business. It allowed us to have a more consistent style of business where people were coming to the brewery and we knew people were going to come to the brewery, and we knew people were going to eat coming to the brewery.
Especially after they left the brewery, right?
Right, exactly. And during, or both. They would eat and then even get stuff to go, right?
Yeah.
For friends or whatever. So it was really cool, really great experience. And then from there, we got the opportunity of someone coming up to us and saying, "Do you guys do weddings? Do y'all do food truck weddings?" And we said no, but we will. You know, we've never done it, but we will.
I love that. No, but we will.
And
that's what I always tell you, right? Make the sale and then figure it out.
Yeah.
I always say that. Yeah, in whatever it relates to.
I love that. Make the sale and then figure it out. That's honestly the evolution of how Box Street came along. With that wedding, we were able to market it and then do more, and grew that business to do pretty well. And that became, okay, this is what we want to do, right? Caterings, you know what you're serving, you know how many people you're going to serve, you know how much food you have to buy.
Yeah.
There's no guessing how many people you got to hire. And it would just be people from restaurant, from the industry. Hey, you want to work a part-time catering gig? Yeah. You know, $20 an hour, $25 an hour, whatever the budget we had. And people were completely down to do it. And so we just kept growing that business for about 2.5 years. 2018, Eddie and I started talking about what about brick and mortar? What about brick and mortar? You know, just kind of planting the seeds of talking about it. Not really knowing, you know, what it was going to take, where we were going to be, how much it was going to be, et cetera, et cetera. But, you know, we were setting up to where we weren't spending the money that we're making. We were just putting it in the bank account, letting the bank account grow, keeping the company strong. 2019, we got a couple of meetings. We were able to set up a couple of meetings with some landlords. And really the one that heard our pitch and saw the vision of what we wanted to do and what we could do was David Adelman. And we met him at a spot here near the Pearl called Viva Taco Land at the time. And, you know, gave him the pitch and he literally put us in his car and he said, "I have the perfect spot for y'all." And he drove us to a new building that was being built called the 68 Apartments. In Hemisphere Park, I should say. And we get out, we go to the site, and just big, beautiful windows with sliding doors, and it was a shell at the time. Obviously, it was, so we had to do the whole build out. But we saw the vision, and we said, "This is it." Construction everywhere. Civic Park wasn't done, right? Obviously, it just got done about a year ago. Construction everywhere. Dust flying everywhere, and for some reason we just said this is the spot for the future, and we took it. I took it, and That was 2019. We signed the lease, started design, started the design process. Let me go back a little bit too, though, on the design process. We hired an amazing woman by the name of Caroline Garcia-Bowman in 2017. She's been working for us for 6 years now. We did her wedding. That's how we hired her. And Eddie met her, and we hired her by asking her to do some menus for us, because she could do, I don't know what it's called.
Illustration?
Yes, illustration and calligraphy and all these types of the beautiful writings, right? So she started with doing our menus. And so she worked freelance for us, right? Hey, hire per wedding, right? We hired her, and she was working for Chick-fil-A at the time. And one day we approached her and said, what about a full-time position with us, you know? And she said yes. And from the yes, it took us a year to be able to hire her, to be able to say, okay, we can now pay you what you need to get paid. Yeah. And it'll be a great investment for this. But throughout that year, we were freelancing, or she was freelancing with us. And she's just become, I needed to mention her because she's become such an important aspect to our business. Yeah. And that was, you talk about, oh, you do everything on purpose, is everything. It wasn't I didn't expect it to be that amazing of a partnership, right, with her, to what it is now. Mm-hmm. I stopped my story from what I was saying about the design because she's become a huge integral part of our design. Mm-hmm. And it was because of COVID. Okay. So I told you guys we signed the lease in 2019. It was October of 2019. We started design. We were going to start construction in March, literally in March.
Oh, man.
Talking to the banks, they were going to give us the loan and start the construction in March. Mind you, we were still carrying Box Street Social catering, and we were full every weekend, double booked, triple booked, whatever it was, every single weekend of that year of 2020. Oh, jeez. It was expected to be an incredibly amazing year. And then March hit and COVID hit, and it couldn't hit a company harder than it hit us. Events stopped, weddings stopped, everything got canceled. We weren't able to work. We had to kind of figure out our own way through that time frame. We would do Zoom classes with some of our clients on how to cook.
Oh my gosh!
On how to make a charcuterie board.
Yeah.
And, we were just getting as creative as we could to kind of keep our business going. Again, I had set up the banking account to where if anything happened, we would be okay, but no one expected anything this drastic.
That.
This drastic to happen. So we were a company of 5-6 people at the time with the catering, or full-time employees, I should say. So we didn't get much on the PPP. It wasn't like, oh, you guys are fine. PPP will take you through it. Yeah. No, we didn't get any of that. And so the beautiful thing is Eddie, Caroline, myself, Carlos, I can't forget to mention Chef Carlos, a great girl by the name of Trish, and we just stuck together. And we said, what are we going to do? How are we going to do it? David Adelman was is a great landlord that also alleviated some things, helped us get through this hardship. We had designed the restaurant with a actual design company, and it turned out good. It did, but it wasn't exactly what we wanted. So this COVID time, having a lot of time, gave us time to say, hey, why don't we design it? So I asked Caroline, I was like, why don't we design it? You know, you're the one coming up with textiles and what we should put into the restaurant and giving it to the designer. Why don't we just do it? And that's what we did.
That turned out to be one of the best decisions you could have ever made for your business.
I think for this business and for personal and for Caroline and for Eddie, like it was the best decision that came out of COVID.
Well, it branded your business.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like one of the biggest defining elements about who you are.
Yeah.
And
Aesthetic is just
the aesthetic and how
undeniable.
people feel when they come to your restaurant. And I love that you mentioned Caroline in that part of the story, because I met you back in the Box Street social mobile days.
Era?
Era in 2018 when we were doing an event. I was helping plan an event for an organization, and you all catered it. And I was like, man, I like that Danny guy. I still call you Danny. And Caroline, and I met you back then, and it's just been so inspiring to watch how all of a sudden one thing and then the next thing and the next thing. And, you know, we've been away for a couple of years. COVID was a time warp. All of a sudden we look up and we're like, oh my God, he's got that restaurant, that location, now maybe going into other locations. Yeah. It's just such a testament to your grit and your tenacity and your being happy, not satisfied. Yeah.
That's right. I mean, when you were like coming out of your first restaurant and rebuilding, and then you had a food truck, and then it became catering company, and now you have this amazing, like, that's an inspiring journey, you know, and it's authentic and it's real. And I think that's why I love having people like you on here and talking to you, because that's going to inspire somebody else to keep going. Because I think that the only reason, it's like, I saw this great quote. It's like, you don't lose or you don't fail. You either learn or you win.
That's correct.
And so like, that mindset's so important. So anyway, that rant is concluded.
I do have one thing though, in relation to like a journey, you know, like a career path, is that I saw somebody share on social media, an acquaintance of mine the other day. It was like a graphic of somebody walking up the stairs, right? So like stair step walking, and it said, "This is growth." And then underneath it, in the shadows, you could see, "So is this," where it's like peak, valley, and
like
it's
peaks
all
are getting
going
a little higher.
Yes, and the peaks are getting a little higher. So it's all, you know, like some people's journeys look like that, but I think I love talking.
I don't really
to
know
people
anyone
like you
really
because,
though
like,
that is.
I
Yeah,
know.
yeah.
I think that we often get, as we're building something, we're building toward dreams, we're building toward goals, it can be really difficult and discouraging because you're doing something that is not charted for you.
Yeah.
You know, like there's a lot of this, and if you're going by intuitive decisions and you're, you know, just really following what you're trying to be present, you're trying to do the next best thing, can sometimes lead to real setbacks. And like, that is something that I've struggled with is, you know, just personally in the last several years, you can't then go kind of beat yourself up in retrospect of like, you know, well, COVID happened. That was a huge challenge. And like, you know, all these things, there's certain things that are in our control and out of our control. Right. Like as you're working with a team to build towards something, that's, you know, kind of something that can be a challenge, and it's something to really keep in mind. It's like your journey's your journey and you don't have to compare it.
Something you said, I don't know if it was before we started or not, but about how going through COVID made you so sort of like strong and convicted that you can overcome anything that comes your way.
Yes.
That's what those valleys are good for.
That's what
they make
do.
the peaks higher because they strengthen you.
I think the valley charts is the only one they should be showing for success.
Yeah.
Because I think most, if not all, people that are trying to attain a goal go through the valley thing and not the, you know, oh, hey, I'm just going to go up this ladder or up the stairs. It's not like that. It's, I'm going to go up these stairs and there's a hole in the stairs.
Right.
Okay, now how do I get out?
Let me do another hallway.
Yeah.
You know, like, and with the happy, not satisfied concept, it's like, how do you remain content while you are striving?
Well, and I'm glad you said that, because the last thing I wanted to ask you was, like, obviously, and this is something I struggle with, I talk about it all the time, like being ambitious and what that means. Like, Do you ever find yourself falling into this, like, I'll be happy once I mentality? It's like, I'll be happy once I have more catering business. Okay, I'll be happy once I open a restaurant.
Yeah.
And so it's like this perpetual thing where it's good to have goals, but then you, at least for me, I realize like I'm not allowing myself to enjoy the process because all I'm thinking about is getting to the destination.
I think that might be the hardest thing that we deal with.
Yeah.
And I haven't figured that out yet. But I am working on it.
I think that's all we can do.
Being more present.
I couldn't put it better. I feel exactly the same way about myself.
Being more present, being more appreciative of where we are, how we are at the time, no matter what. But then there's something in us that says, okay, that's enough of that thought.
Yeah.
You know, and it's just a weird thing.
It is so weird and difficult.
I think what I've done better, or what I hope I'm doing better, is, you know, the time I have with my friends and my family and that kind of stuff, that I am present at least there.
That's good.
Not just, you know.
Because even that, I find myself, like, I hate to admit it, but like I struggle with that.
No,
even with family and friends and all that. It's like in the back of my mind, I'm like, oh, I should be doing this, or I got to do this, or I got to blah. And it's like,
it's constant,
man.
It's constant.
Yeah.
And that is the biggest challenge that I would say that I do deal with as well. It's so funny. I always tell them we've built 2 restaurants out fully from shell, I should say. And I always tell people it doesn't matter. We're done building the restaurant, and it doesn't matter because the work is now just beginning.
Right.
Yep.
Now we're going to open, and the work's. We never really even get to appreciate how.
Yeah.
We just built this incredible space. Well, with La Cantera, I really, really tried to do that. I really went at night by myself or early in the morning.
That's cool.
Or just kind of looked around and said, this looks good.
We need to go out to your La Cantera.
Yeah,
we haven't
we
been
do.
to the La Cantera location.
Yeah, it's really cool.
I think too, just the last thing on this whole concept, it seems like when I talk to people, and what I believe in theory is that gratitude is sort of the answer to this problem. Mm-hmm. But then I'm like, I need to find a process for that works for me. Because like, if I'm just thinking in my head, I'm thankful for Ellie, I'm thankful for Leo, I'm thankful for my parents, and it's like all true, right? But I'm like, this doesn't feel genuine. Like it is, because I mean it, but it's not really helping.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
He struggles more than I do.
Yeah, I think, yeah. Well, you relate to me though.
I relate to that completely.
Yeah.
Completely.
Yeah.
It's a struggle, and I don't want it to be like that. All I want is to be more present, you know, and I do work on it. But if anyone out there has some tips, man, I'm all ears.
I think, you know, and that's, I love the title of y'all's podcast, Happy Not Satisfied. It's so perfect, and it can mean a lot of things.
Yeah.
You're happy, yes, but not satisfied also kind of means you're not happy.
Yeah.
So which one is it, right?
It's finding the balance.
And it's finding the balance of being grateful for what we have, but also having, hey, I have, there's more to do.
Yep. And I think also just putting it in those words, it's like accepting the fact that like I am this way and I do want more, you know, whatever more might mean. I don't mean that necessarily to be like money or whatever, but just like more in life, right? A bigger life. Like putting it out there that that's okay, but how do you find the joy in the process to those things and not just putting your flagpole in the achievements, quote unquote, and only caring about that?
Right. No.
Yeah. And what I struggle with, the way I internalize it, is it's just taken until like a couple of weeks ago for the light bulb to go off. It's like, yes, we live happy, not satisfied and all of it, but I am wired differently than Dan is. And I am a lot.
That's a good thing, by the way.
It's a good thing. As we all know.
So is my wife.
In
a good way.
Yeah. But I am naturally pretty grounded and present, and kind of like when I am stressed, it's not my natural state. Like my natural state is pretty flowy and relaxed. And so happy, not satisfied for me, though, it's like what I've always struggled with is I see the vision of me, you know, in my most realized self, right? Authentic, realized self. I'm like, oh yeah, there, boom, you know, and I've known it. I've known it as truth from the time that I was a teenager. But I get so lost and like frazzled and scared and like overwhelmed because I don't know how to get from now to there. And so then where that preoccupies my mind is like, instead of taking a step, you know, like just any step at all, I'm paralyzed. And I do take steps. I mean, like obviously I do, but it's still a very distant vision for me. Yeah. And so that's why Happy Not Satisfied for me has really helped in like latching onto this concept of life is art, you know, because that's kind of how I marry the two things. It's like the life is art is the presence of it all. And like what you're doing with your business is literally the art of gathering, right? How do I create and put art out there and enjoy and acknowledge that my life and all the little moments are that, right? They're worth celebrating on the journey to becoming whatever it is that I see. And it's really difficult when you are saturated, like inundated with all of these success stories and the overnight this and the overnight that and seeing everybody striving and whatever. I understand what hustle culture is and like part of me identifies with it, but the other part of me is totally opposite, and it's very intuitive and flowy and like maternal in that way. Mm-hmm. And I'm just coming to terms with like this will be a lifelong kind of war of duality inside of me. Like you have to accept that and then harness it and package it as
that's
you need
Happy Not Satisfied too, right? There is no end.
Literally,
like,
there is no end.
That's the whole part of it.
So it's all kind of wrapped up. But like my version of understanding Happy Not Satisfied and channeling it for good in my life has been that a little bit different and softer of an interpretation. And I think that's the beauty of the phrase is that, you know, it's something different for everybody.
Which I didn't realize actually until people started talking to me about it. I was like, oh, this is what it means because this is what it meant to me. Yeah. And now it's kind of been cool, like hearing what it means to you and like knowing it means something different to you. It's like, I don't know. It's nice. I like that. Yeah.
I think we forget to trust ourselves.
Yes.
And to trust that it's going to happen. Right. So if I talked a little bit about my history, but if I were to tell you that I'd be right here at this podcast studio, no, I'm just in where I am in business, sure. Even 5 years ago, I would have said, yes, I will be there. And did I know I was going to be there? No, but I would have told you
belief. Yeah.
I would have told you that I believe that I'm going to be there. And even through all the low valleys and everything that we've gone through or I've gone through, or everyone goes through, right? In life or in business, we're going to get there.
Yeah.
Right. And we don't know exactly where there is, but I'm really happy with where we are right now.
Yeah.
And so I think we just need to trust ourselves a little bit more and give ourselves a little more grace too.
Yes.
You know? I could do both of those things a lot better. And the trusting part, it's interesting. I kind of just made this connection when you said that. If you can trust more, I think it allows you to be more present. Mm-hmm. Yep. Because then the things that are nagging you, you can trust that's going to get worked out.
That's right.
I'm going to enjoy this. You just had
a breakthrough.
Look at that, man. You're helping me. Thank you. See?
That's what this is about.
Look at that.
I love these podcast things because this is the first one I've ever done, by the way. But I listen to some and y'all's and I see that. I've been through that. Oh, yeah. Right. Or I can connect with him or her on that, right?
Yeah.
And kind of learn through even just talking and sharing experiences.
Right.
You know, I don't think we do that enough in society. And I think it's starting to grow more, which is great.
Yeah.
Yes.
So thank y'all for
thanks for coming on. This has been a great conversation. And I know that there's places we can find you and the restaurant and all that. So is there any shameless plug? Go for it. Whatever.
Shameless plug. All you got to do is just Google Box Street all day or Box Street Social.
Perfect.
You can find our Instagram websites and from there, all the information you might need on anything.
So, and there's a Hemisphere location and there's a La Cantera location. Both are amazing.
Yeah, I guess I didn't mention the La Cantera location really.
A little,
Just opened.
We just opened January 8th. Yeah, January 8th of this year.
Nice.
And so that one is a true all day. So it's 9 to 9, Monday through Saturday.
Oh, cool.
And 9 to 4 brunch only on Sundays there. We love it. Location's great. We open in a slow season, but we've gotten great feedback so far. We're looking forward to spring break next week, and you know, Fiesta Tech is opening.
We were seeing
all that.
Take your kids, drop them off at Six Flags, go spend the day at Box Street.
Have some mimosas and then open. Not too many though.
Maybe don't ride the roller coasters after that.
But Hemisphere, again, we've been open since December of 21, and we're brunch only there, 9 to 4, Monday through Sunday.
And I have been there, and it's great.
Also, great location, located in the park.
Yeah, amazing location.
Yeah. And the whole Hemisphere Society and what's happening there. Civic Park just opened about 8 months ago or whatever it was. And so we're just loving it there. Great location as well. very natural, airy, vibey.
Yes.
So
it is vibey.
You want to have a good time?
That's a good word.
Come on over.
Yeah, for sure. Well, cool. And you can find us at happy.notsatisfied if you're interested, or happynotsatisfied.com. But Danny, thank you for joining us.
I've been very happy being here.
Yeah, we are happy and not satisfied, but very much happy that you were with us. So thanks a lot. And
Thank you,
yeah, we'll talk to you soon.
Absolutely.
Thanks, man.
Pleasure.